Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to be doing a little bit of a color comparison. So rather than a technical tip for watercolor painting, in this video I am going to compare Opera Rose, and I think that it could be quite valuable for you to watch a video like this if you are going to buy a new tube of Opera Rose or a pan. And I have some leftover Winsor & Newton Opera Rose that I've had before. And then I use mostly Holbein paints now as well. So I'm going to add some of this new tube to another pan. And then I also have the Daniel Smith swatch card that gives you a little dot of most of their colors. So I am going to swatch the 3 different brands of Opera Rose to see if there is any difference. And then I'll do a quick little loose rose for you to see how you would do that. And you could maybe follow along and try it out with me. Alright, so I have my paints here. I have my Holbein nice brand new tube, and then I have my Winsor & Newton, which I've just popped out of my palette, which is a mixed palette of paints that I've put together myself. And there's a little chart that I have here. This is my teaching palette, so a smaller version of my 52 pan palette. And then I have the swatch card here from Daniel Smith. This is the Opera Rose here. So I thought it would be a nice opportunity to see what the comparison is of all 3. I'm going to start by putting some of this Opera Rose in this nice empty pan. And they're actually, I'm thinking there might be like a copyright issue with the Winsor & Newton and the other brands, because the Holbein paint comparison, it's called just Opera. So it's not actually Opera Rose. Winsor & Newton has Opera Rose. The Holbein one here is Opera, and then in brackets, let's see if I can just focus in on that. In brackets they have Quinacridone Opera. Yeah, Quinacridone Opera. So that's their version of it. And then on Daniel Smith, they call it Opera Pink. So they are the same sort of version of color, but they're slightly different names, and they are slightly different in color. So I just have a scrap piece of paper here. And I think I'll start with Winsor & Newton, since if you've seen any of my videos, that is the one that I've been using so far. So I have an older brush. It's a nice round sable brush, but it's got a fairly sort of springy, stiff bristle, and it's worn out. So I find it perfect for picking up paint. So this is our Winsor & Newton Opera Rose. Beautiful color. Now I'll pick up my fresh pan here of the Quinacridone Opera by Holbein. So just dab a little, just sort of get a bit of water on the tip of my brush here and swatch this one. Fairly similar. Just grabbing a little bit more paint, blending that out a bit more. So I think this one is ever so slightly more purple in tone than the Opera Rose. And then I'll just rinse out my brush and just moving my lights so there's a little less glare on the colors there that are wet. And then we will just give the Daniel Smith Opera Pink a try. Just give it a good scrub here. So they're all very similar, but I do see some differences. And to me, looking at them, the Daniel Smith is a little bit more fluorescent. The Holbein is ever so slightly more purpley magenta based, and then the Winsor & Newton one is probably the most subtle. So I hope that helps you if you are thinking of purchasing new paint or this color for the very first time. And I think that I'll just show you how to do a quick loose floral rose as a fun little exercise using these colors. Alright, so I will just mix up some of my Opera Rose. I'll use the Winsor and Newton one just because that is a bit drier and it's easier to pick up and mix in the palette. I'll mix up some on its own, and then I'm also, just for fun, going to mix some up and add in some titanium white. It's not traditionally for, it's not traditional, I should say, for botanical artists to add white, but it's much more popular sort of with floral painting versus botanical illustration. But I think it would be very fun to try that out for this little rose we're going to do. And then I'll also just need to mix up some color for the center. So I'm using my Holbein Permanent Yellow Orange. And I'll make a second puddle of that. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of my Holbein Light Red, just to make sort of a browner mix to darken the center as well. And these are some of my favorite flowers to paint, especially when I'm tired and I don't want to focus on something too detailed. So I'll just take my Opera Rose, and I'm just using a number 4 brush, just a round brush, and just sort of squiggling about. And then I'm just going to mix for the next petal using the color with the white. And then rinse my brush out a little, dab it on paper towel so that I have a lighter concentration. And then dip it again, dab it, just getting a little bit more color off. And then I'm making this petal, there are just blobs, but I'm making it a little shorter, and it's foreshortened so it's going to show it angled away. While this is still wet, I will take some of my yellow-orange color, twist my brush, and just dab it in, make sure I get a little bit of the pink so it bleeds. And then take my darker color and dab that in so it bleeds together. And I have a lovely sort of loose rose, and I'll do another one here. Mix up my Opera Rose. This one I'll do more front on. Got one petal there. This one might sort of connect into the next door neighbor. Take the other mix, and you can just have so much fun just squiggling your brush about, making these beautiful flowers. Again, taking the center color, and we want it to mix in a bit, so that's good. Just dab away. I'm not using any fancy paper. This is actually the back of some watercolor paper I cut out of a sketchbook that I didn't like what was on the back, and it's the wrong side of the watercolor paper, and I think it's just 140 pound cold pressed. Now I'm just going to remove my pink pans here, give myself a bit of space, and just while we're at it, grab some green. That's sap green, and I'll mix in some shadow green by Holbein. You can use perylene green instead for a nice dark green. Same size brush, and I'll just make some very sort of thin stems, just like that. A little bit more water, and then I'll just pull down and add in some leaves for fun. Why not? And then just using the very tip of my brush just to connect this all, just like that. So in just a matter of minutes, we have a lovely loose rose study using our Opera Pink, Opera Rose mixes. I hope you enjoyed this tip video, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. If you liked it, please subscribe to my channel. I post new videos every month, and hit the like button so that more people can find this video and I can create more videos for you in the future. Happy painting.